This week I had a client come to me with a request on something I've never actually tried before. And it's this cool little pop-up that happens when you hover over the author's name inside of a blog post. Now, I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to pull this off, but it ended up being fairly easy, and I wanted to share with you exactly how to do that in this tutorial. We're going to do most of everything with GenerateBlocks, and then we'll have to write just a little bit of CSS at the end, which of course I'll provide down in the description below, and that will get everything working just fine. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, let's go ahead and dive in and see how it's done. Writing a proposal sucks, but the easy peasy proposal, it can help you end your proposal procrastination for good. It's the same fill-in-the-blank style template I use in my agency, and it will help you create winning proposals in minutes, not hours. Learn more by going to theadminbar.com/EPP and use the code YouTube for 30% off at checkout. The first thing we need to do is actually go ahead and set up some custom fields inside the user profile so that we can add things like links to social media profiles. So to do this, we're going to use Advanced Custom Fields. I am just using the free version. If you don't have Advanced Custom Fields installed, you can just go to Plugins, Add New, and search for Advanced Custom Fields. We're going to go ahead and create a new field group. We'll just call this Author Info. I'm going to scroll down here to the settings, and we're just going to go ahead and change this to user role and is equal to all is fine. This is just what we need to do to be able to add these fields into the user. So we'll go up here, and the first one we're going to add is the author bio, which can just be text. So we're going to do author, we'll go ahead and capitalize that, author bio. It'll go ahead and give us a field name there. We'll add another field. This one's going to be a URL field. And we'll say Facebook URL. We'll add another one. We'll do a URL. And we'll do Twitter URL. And we'll add another one, URL. And we'll do LinkedIn URL. Okay, now we can go ahead and save this. And if we jump over here into the users, I only have one user on here, but we'll experiment this with another one here in a bit. If we scroll down to the bottom here, we have these new fields we added, this author info. So here in the bio, I'm just gonna drop some website IPSM in there for now. We can go back and change that later. For the Facebook URL, you would wanna put, this person's Facebook profile, but for the time being, I'm just gonna put the URL to these social platforms so we can just make sure that they're linked up the right way. And that should give us enough evidence. All right, so this user's set up. They now have a bio, a URL for Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So go ahead and update this profile. Now the next thing we need to do is jump into our elements and find our blog post template element. Now, if you don't know how to create an element for your blog post, then I do have a video with a card that should be popping up right here that will show you how to do that. But here, I already have a basic one set up. If we open up the list view here, in this hero section, we can see the headline, which is this big H1, and then this post date, the author name, and the list of terms. So inside that container, I want to go ahead and add a new block, and what I'm going to add is a container. And this is actually going to be the little pop-up with our author information. So go ahead and style this a little bit. I'm going to give it 16 pixels of padding around the whole thing. I'm going to give it a 1 pixel border, and we'll give it about 8 pixels worth of border radius. We want to go in here in the background color, and we'll change it to white. We'll change the border color to this light gray color. And here in effects, I'm going to go ahead and add a box shadow here. And that should be good enough for the overall styling of this little pop-up. Inside of it, I'm going to go ahead and add a grid, and we'll add a 2-column grid. On this left-hand column, I'm going to go ahead and delete out the width in here so it will shrink all the way down to the contents. And inside of it, I'm going to add an image. So once I have this image block in here, I can scroll down to Enable Dynamic Data. And for the image source, I just want to do Author Avatar. Now, it automatically comes in at 50 pixels by 50 pixels. I'm going to change that to 80 by 80. And I'm going to give it a little bit of border radius. And we should be good there. Now, in the second column, I actually want this to grow. So I'm going to change the grow to 1. So it will just fill up the available space. I'm going to go back to the grid block here and just give a little space in between these. 20 pixels should be fine. And first, I'm going to add a headline. We'll change it to paragraph. I'm going to make it bold and make sure that there's 0 bottom margin on it. And we'll scroll down here to the dynamic data. Now, once we turn that on, we can turn the content source to name. So now it's going to show the author's name here. Go ahead and duplicate that. And we're going to change this content source to author meta. And this was author _ bio. We can go ahead and enter there. That's the field name I gave that custom field we set up. For this one, we actually don't want it bold, and we probably want to go a little bit smaller. So now we have 15 pixels for the font there. Now we're going to go ahead and add some buttons here for all of our social links. So I'm going to go ahead and add a buttons block. We'll give it 24 pixels of top margin, and then we'll click into our first button here. I'm going to change the background color of it to a light gray, turn the text to a dark gray, and on hover, we'll go with this call to action color, and white text will be all right. For the icon, I'm going to go ahead and pick the Facebook logo. We can ignore this little warning. And we want to go ahead and remove this text here. Now that's a little bit big, so I'm going to change this to 0.7 em for the size. We can scroll back up here to the padding, and we could do something maybe like 8 pixels all the way around it, and give it just a little bit of border radius. Now we want to go down here to the enable dynamic data, and under link source, again, we want to choose author meta because we set up those custom fields for this. So this one's going to be Facebook _ URL because that's the name we gave this field. And this will make it where it links to whatever field is inside that author. Now that we got the Facebook one set up, actually we need to do one more thing. We need to add just a little bit of right margin to this so the buttons don't butt up against each other. Now that we got that, we can go ahead and duplicate this a couple times. This next one here, we want to change the logo out for the Twitter icon. And of course, we want to change this link source. So instead of Facebook URL, we want to do Twitter _ URL. And then for this last one, we can change the icon to LinkedIn. And here under the link options inside the dynamic data, we can do LinkedIn URL. Hit enter. Okay, so now if we go ahead and hit update here, we can go ahead to the front end of this website and take a look at what this looks like. So we'll go ahead and go to this first post here. And as you can see, we have this bio box just automatically showing. We're going to have to write some CSS to actually hide this and then show it on hover. But for now, we can see that it's all here and it's pulling in the correct dynamic data. There was the bio I put in. Here, if we hover over Facebook, you'll see in the bottom left corner, that's linking to Facebook, that's linking to Twitter, and that's linking to LinkedIn. Now, just to show you again that this is using the author's information, I'm going to go ahead and add a new author, and we'll just call him Test, and I'll use a different one of my emails. We'll call him Kyle2. And we don't have to worry about any of these settings. I'm not going to log in with this, and this is going to be Kyle2's bio. And for Facebook URL, just so we can see that it's dynamic and pulling something else in, I'm just going to put fb.com. For Twitter, we'll put tw.com. And for LinkedIn, we'll put li.com. Now we can go ahead and save this new user. We can jump over here into our posts. And in this post 2, I'm going to go ahead and change this author to Kyle2 and hit update. Now, if we go ahead and view that post, we can see this is bringing in Kyle2 Van Deusen, Kyle2's bio. This is linking to FB. This is linking to TW, and this is linking to LI. So it's going to bring in all that information dynamically, which is exactly what we want. So now we just need to go back into this content template for our blog post, and we need to add a couple classes. So the first one is on this link where we're going to have the author name. I'm going to scroll down here, and under Advanced, under Additional CSS Classes, I'm going to do author -link. Now inside this container that wraps all of our information for the pop-up, I'm going to give it a class of author-popup. And we'll go ahead and hit update. Once again, we'll go to the front end. We'll jump into one of these posts, and now we'll go into the customizer to write some CSS. So under additional CSS, the first thing we're going to do is write some rules for the author pop-up. We're going to go ahead and make the width 400 pixels just to make it a bit smaller there. It works fairly well with this design. In fact, we might be able to go to like 420, 410, something like that works pretty well. Now we'll go ahead and give it a position of absolute. So this way it's not pushing the rest of the content down. You can see if I take that rule out, it's actually pushing all this content down, But if I put it back in, it's actually kind of floating on top, which is exactly what we want. Now we can do a display of none to hide it away. So the next rule we're going to write is for when we hover over the author link, for the author pop-up to go back to display block. So to do that, we're going to do author-link and then a colon and hover. And then we need to do a little tilde because we're going to actually target one of its siblings here. So now we'll do author-popup. All right, in here, all we need to do is do display block. And now you see when we hover over this, it's showing our little pop-up. The only problem with this is when we stop hovering over it, it goes away. So you're not actually able to get to any of these links in here. So we need to write one more rule here to keep that from happening. What we'll do is author-popup and then hover. And we're going to do display block. And all this is going to do is make sure that if you're hovering over that pop-up, that it stays on display block. So now if we hover over here and go down, anywhere where we hover over this pop-up, it's going to work just fine. Now, you do have some concerns here with responsiveness. Obviously, once we get to tablet and mobile, we don't really have hover states anyways. So what I would probably do in this case is just go here above all the CSS we wrote, and I have some code in my text expander. This is just going to write a media query so that this only happens on desktop. So it's saying the media is a min width of 1025 pixels. I've wrapped all that in this curly bracket here, and that's going to make sure that this only happens when we're on desktop. Now we're going to have to write one more rule because now it's going to always show up on tablet and on mobile. So to fix that, we just need to get out of that media query, and we'll do author-popup, and we'll do display none. And this will go ahead and hide it from the tablet and mobile views, but this will work just fine on desktop. So now we can hit publish. We'll get out of the customizer here, go back to the home page, and we can see this one is showing Kyle 2, and this one here is showing the original. So just like that, you can create a pretty cool interactive little pop-up for your author information. I always love when I can find a new little trick like this and add something new to my tool belt. It was actually pretty interesting the way this request came into me. It's for a customer who runs a pretty large blog, and they're worried about the effects ChatGPT will have on their audience. They want to make sure that people know that their authors are actual people. So by providing this bio information at the top of the blog post, that will just give another bit of social proof that these are real people solving real problems. If you've come across anything you're trying to accomplish with GenerateBlocks and GeneratePress and hadn't been able to quite figure it out, I would love for you to drop a link to that down in the comments so I can check it out. Being able to tinker with these different things and find a solution is one of the things that I enjoy the most about doing this kind of work. If you want to see some other challenging things I've solved, you can click either one of these videos here, and we will catch you in the next video.